E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guinois, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guinois Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. The Messages of Inspirational Stories has got some great stories today because we can all get inspiration from our dogs. My goodness gracious. You talk about an animal that demonstrates its love, its loyalty, and its ability to protect us at all costs. Nothing says it better than the actions of our dogs, especially family pets that we're going to hear. You guys know a lot of stories. We're going to share a few stories with you that maybe you haven't heard. And I've got one of the original dog lovers of the world with me today, Mr. Emerson Brantley. Let's welcome Emerson to the stage. Hey, sir, how you doing?
Hello, Jim.
How are you today?
I'm paws down. I'm doing good.
Paws down. Huh? That's wonderful. Yesterday, we had some nice little stories about dogs and how they, like the one, it was a military dog it was shot 4 times by an AK-47, but that did not deter him from attacking the bad guy to protect his beloved owner. And, of course, the dog and the owner was able to get the bad guy out, take him out. And the dog went through 7 hours of surgery and survived and was awarded a hero medal. And it's just amazing because you imagine that dog getting shot 4 times and not quitting. That's, whew. I mean, somebody shoots at me once, I'm going to duck behind something and probably stay there.
And some of our viewers may not have the experience that you've obviously had from the military of understanding what it means to be shot, that a bullet doesn't just go through you. It messes you up and it tears it up inside. It tumbles around and to be shot even one time isn't just to get a hole through your body.
Yeah.
It explodes in your body, and to be shot that many times is for a dog, and a dog is so much smaller, than a human.
And the AK-47 was shot with, that bullet tumbles. If it hits a bone, it'll follow the bone. Yeah. And it's just
tumbles around and just chews it up inside.
Yeah, I mean, that's poor puppy. It's amazing that the poor pup even survived.
Yes.
And
even
Emerson,
even one.
Oh yeah, my goodness gracious, because that's a horrible, horrible thing. But dogs are just.
That's why in recent years the military, and in many cases even local law enforcement, have begun designating their canine corps.
Oh yeah.
As officers, as in the same category of the people who are in uniform, because they're serving they are serving them, and they are risking their life and they're saving life.
Oh yeah.
And all of those things mean that from a legal standpoint in many jurisdictions, if they are using a canine unit and you hurt or God forbid kill that dog, it's considered exactly the same as if you had shot the human that is working with the dog, and you can be prosecuted for that. And people say, well, that's nuts. A dog's life isn't the same as a person's life. This isn't that kind of a judgment.
Right.
What this is recognizing that in incapacitating the dog, you're incapacitating the human. In taking the life of that dog, you're taking everything that has taken place that has led that dog to be able to be doing the job. And on the other side, not pursuing criminals, but on the other side, hundreds of thousands of lives, tens of thousands at least, but potentially hundreds of thousands of lives are saved each year when you have natural disasters, when you have earthquakes, when you have fires, when you have things with dogs who are trained to be able to sniff out and find the people who are still alive in the rubble, you know?
Yeah. You know, we have the group here, I'll put them up there. Shelter a Soldier. They go in and rescue the bigger dogs that are not real high on the list to be adopted, and they train these dogs for various things, including PTSD, and then they bring the soldiers in who have a specific need, and they'll bring the dogs in that's trained for that need. Most of the cases it is PTSD, and the soldier and the dog, they kind of pick each other. You know, they just kind of migrate to each other because the dog, you know, has senses, and they know, I guess, somehow or another, they know they're going to get adopted or they're going to be matched up with somebody because they know that they're being trained for a specific purpose and to be matched up with that. But my point being, and I want to go somewhere with this, my point being is that 100% of the soldiers who suffer from PTSD, who received a dog from this organization, Sheltered a Soldier, they have not lost one single soldier to suicide. That's how valuable dogs are. And I'm gonna get on my soapbox here for about maybe 60 seconds with this school shooting that we had down in Uvalde, Texas. Everybody hates that. Everybody knows that there's something wrong with that individual's head. And I just think, can you imagine if we had a service dog there could sniff out guns or bombs or something like that, and have some of the retired veterans there who volunteer? It wouldn't be a burden to the school or anything like that, school district financially, because you know what? Those cowards would not show up at a place where they could get gunned down and chewed up. You know what I mean?
Well,
that's a good way.
And that dog would not have backed down.
No.
When there was some silly order, you know, not to go in, that dog would have been on ready. It would have been at the door. It would have been making sure that this presence was known.
You'd have been having to hold him back. Yeah. And you think about that, because people who do that, I'm sorry, but you got a sick and a warped mind. And I'm not going to apologize for that. But the thing of it is, you're also a coward to go in and attack innocent people. That is the first.
Third and fourth graders.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a warped, sick mind. You are a coward, and you know, if you're watching this show, you know that you would run straight home to your mama if a German Shepherd came after you, knowing that they're there to defend that school and those kids because they're defending an insurgent, an enemy, a bad guy that's carrying a gun. You'd run it straight home to your mama and hide under a bed because you're a coward. And let me get off my soapbox now, but I just had to say that because maybe someone out there can pick up on what like Sheltered a Soldier's doing, not only for security, but also for companionship. Because, you know, Emerson, I've known people, and I've read stories. Let me rephrase that. I don't know them personally, but I've read stories where people take a small little poodle into a nursing home or into an old folks home, as we like to say. And the comfort that dog gives those poor people in the retirement homes, nursing homes, whatever you want to call them, they don't have anything. All they got is just a little closet, a few clothes, and 3 meals a day, and someone there to make sure they keep their pills up to date. And you know, they don't have anything.
Well, and they respond. You know, people with dementia, you know, people with Alzheimer's respond to the presence of those animals, and children in burn hospitals and cancer wards, in children's hospitals. Yeah, the recovery rate increases, and none of this is about just real good, feel good. Oh, don't we all love petting a dog? Yeah. When you look at, I had a client who was deeply involved in DNA and mRNA and all of that research, and the brain chemistry in our body is affected by so many things, not just what we eat or drink or breathe, but it our genetics themselves, but our brain chemicals respond to certain outside influences and stimuli. And dogs among all domesticated animals, dogs have learned that connection.
Oh yeah.
And science is baffled. They are studying it. That's what this whole magazine that I showed, that I brought here from a few months back. This is massive amounts of research looking at the connection. Because when those wild dogs, those wolves or wild packs, begin kind of circling around the campfires eons ago, one of them ended up coming closer, maybe a scrap of meat or whatever, but learned behavior and learned to interact with humans and learned to read humans. And the science shows us now, dogs read us and know us better than we know ourselves.
Isn't that the truth? Because,
so
you know, as you're talking about that, I can sense, because in the wild kingdom, animals are always measuring up threats and what's for dinner, especially in the with the carnivores. But you know, they could probably read the people and say, okay, those people are a threat to me. They got food. Okay, well, they give me food. Okay, well, this would be, you know, this would be a good deal. But you know, when we're talking about a little bit earlier about taking the small dog in, doesn't have to be a poodle, anything that's small or anything that you got to get permission to, obviously. But I really believe, Emerson, that dog, because dogs have that great ability to read people, I believe those dogs can actually pick up and say, hey, this person needs some love.
Oh, yeah.
Their love sponge is low. And that's why they just, you know, the two just enjoy it so much, because that's the beautiful thing about love. The more you give, the more you get, whether you're a human, whether you got 2 legs, 4 legs, or no legs, you know, it's just a principle, a universal principle that you cannot give the master giver when it comes to love, because that's what makes the universe turn.
And dogs are just a fantastic example of that unconditional love.
Yeah.
It's, you know, they can be with an owner that's mean and ugly and everything else, and they still are loyal and they still have unconditional love and will defend them. You know, and you know, the people who should be getting the tags and the licensing, I think in many cases, are the owners, you know, not the dogs. But
maybe even a couple of rabies shots too. Huh?
Yeah, maybe
or distemper,
some serious distemper. Yeah, but the dog, you know, they adopt us as much as we adopt them. I told the story
sure they do.
On our last show about how Abby, you know, showed up 9:30 at night after being out in just horrible weather, and we had lost our previous dog just a week before, our Rottweiler, and Abby adopted us as her pack, and we adopted her into our pack, and it was absolutely unconditional. And what can we learn from that as people?
Yes,
you know?
That's a good question.
What can we learn from the dogs?
Yeah.
You know, I told you, and I joked about it, but, you know, one of my favorite prayers is, Lord, help me become the person that my dog thinks I am.
Oh, yeah. Well, if we do that, we'd all be, you know.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Well, we'd have the world in a hip pocket, wouldn't we? But, you know, Emerson, I tell you, I love some of these stories about dogs. And ladies and gentlemen, we found this story on a website called Bored Panda, BORED Panda. And it's very short, but anyway, they give very short descriptions about heroes of everyday dogs, people like you and me that have our dog. And there's a picture here of a black and white dog. He looks like he's part I don't know. I don't want to say.
He's all
But
dog.
he's all dog, yeah. And the caption above it, excuse me, just says, "Tonight, this guy barked at me for 30 minutes to take him out, despite he had just been out." So it turned out that they had a gas leak in the apartment. And he wanted his pack out of there. He would not quit barking because he knew there was danger. Hey, this is not, he may not have known all the chemical characteristics of the gas, but he knew that's not good. And that could harm his pack, him and his pack, and he would not quit barking. And they didn't say here, but I imagine during that 30 minutes of barking, he probably heard a few, "Would you shut up? I just took you out," because that's how smart we are,
Are coming over and popping him,
Yeah.
I said, be quiet. Hush up. There's nothing out there. Be quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like
learning to listen to your dog and paying attention to your dog.
Yeah.
That's cute. That's critical.
Yeah, it really is. And I remember a person getting interviewed who's a former criminal that had his face blacked out. He was working had his face blacked out. He was working with the law enforcement, and he was a big time crook. He was a cat burglar is what he was.
Well, no wonder the dogs went after him.
Yeah. But an interviewer says, did you scope homes that had dogs? Or he said, well, I really didn't worry about dogs because I was more focused on what was inside the house. He said, yeah, but wouldn't a dog bark and all that? Many times a dog would, but I'd have treats and that would, solve it. Or many times the owners would tell the dog, would you hush? Rather than get up, turn on a light and check it out. He wasn't afraid of the owner.
Yeah.
Because the owner would, tell the dog hush, and he had treats. And a lot of times the dogs who were not trained enough or whatever, he might seem friendly and, they give him a treat or something like that. But he was a cat burglar, and he taught a lot about how he was able to circumvent sophisticated alarms and things like that, because that's what he was doing. Now he was giving back to say, hey, this is how I learned, and this is where your problems are, and that sort of thing, which was that's a good case where someone can take a negative situation, turn around a positive situation. And that's what we all should seek for, because we all make negative mistakes. We all do negative things, and we should seek self-improvement. And dogs, they pick up on that self-improvement all the time. Any way they can. I love pictures. I love videos. I see the way they lay in bed, all laid back on. You sent me a couple of pictures.
Oh my. Yeah. We used to. Okay, I'm just going to say it. Okay. Every time we'd walk through the room when Abby was there, this big old Marmaduchess, we'd call her Marmaduchess. She'd roll over on her back and hold her little paws up like she was a puppy. And I started. This isn't to offend anybody. It was an internal joke at our house, but I started referring to her as porn dog. Porn dog. She's porn dog because she'd just be on her back like that, rub my belly. Mm-hmm. And here she was, an 80-pound dog at that point. And if you walked through the room, that's what she'd end up doing. Mm-hmm. Well, that for a dog also is the sign of ultimate submission, ultimate recognition,
and trust
of you as their alpha. Mm-hmm. You are their pack. You are there for them, and letting you know that they are there for you.
Yeah.
And it's every time we walk through the room. Mm-hmm. And so, if I got up in the morning, when we both would get up in the morning, if one of us stayed in bed, she'd wait until that one got up. She'd stay in the room. That's the guard. That's watching her pack. And as soon as you got up, she'd roll over on her back to get that first rub,
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
all of these are little things that we see them as maybe cute or interesting or sometimes annoying little traits. But dogs are pack animals. Dogs have watched us for thousands of years and know us. No other animal that's been domesticated has done what dogs have done. Horses are the closest. Horses are the closest. They can recognize human emotion just in photographs and things like that. But dogs, oh my goodness, dogs can save our lives. Just one of the things I was going to read, and I think I held this up, that the studies that are being done on canine cognition.
Yeah,
and
please do.
What dogs get. I'll hold it back up. This is a Smithsonian magazine, but there's been several. I think National Geographic had one. This one is from a couple of years ago, actually. But here's just one little fact: dogs outsmell humans. Well, we all know that.
Yeah.
But do you know how much, Jim?
No, sir.
Humans have about 6 million olfactory receptors.
Okay.
Dogs have up to 300 million.
Wow.
So when you talk about that dog that smells the gas, or that dog that smells the bad guy in the other room, or the house is burning, as I think one of the ones you shared in the last show.
Yes.
We're totally unaware of it.
Oh yeah.
The dogs can also smell when your blood sugar is high or when it's low, and it's saved the lives of countless children when they figured out that teaming up with a childhood diabetic with a dog that has been trained, that dog can wake up that child in the middle of the night when their blood sugar is dropping dangerously low.
Oh yeah, they can just sniff it out, and because as I said before in a previous broadcast, my boy Range, he was my dog. I mean, when I say my dog, he picked me as being the number one leader of his, or number one in this pack. And I had surgery.
It's alpha dog.
Yeah, he was an alpha dog, and I was a Bravo puppy.
But you were the alpha dog.
Yeah, but anyway, he came up, and I was laying on the couch. I had a hernia repair on my left side, and I was under very strict rules not to drive or anything like that, not only from the doctor, but from my wife and my daughter who works for a doctor. So they took the slack out of my chain, and I actually took the keys too, believe it or not. Wanted to make sure I didn't misbehave. But he came up and he smelt the side of my face, and I'm laying on the couch, and this is during the first week. So I'm not really feeling like moving around too much. I can get around, not any pain, but it's a little bit uncomfortable. And it goes down the side of my body. And then in the area right where they did the surgery, he sniffed and he sniffed and he sniffed. Then he went down my leg to my knee, came back up, sniffed that area again, sniffed me all the way up, came up the side of my face, licked the side of my face, and then laid down beside me and went to sleep. That was his way of saying, you're going to be okay. You got my stamp of approval. And this brings me to a story that really touches my heart.
That's awesome, Jim, by the way.
Thank you. This touches my heart because this dog saved his owner's life by lying on him for 24 hours during a freezing condition. And what happened was a man, he broke his neck outdoors in freezing conditions. It does not say how it happened, whether he was skiing or whatever, but anyway, he obviously fell. He broke his neck in freezing conditions, and he was survived lying in the snow for 24 hours thanks to his dog. His dog stayed with him on top of him to keep him warm through the night and barked for help consistently. Anticipating a journey of only several meters, the man was wearing just long johns, a shirt, and slippers when he went outside. Despite the temperature being around, it says -4 degrees Celsius, so this happened over in Europe, I guess. However, he slipped, he fell, and he broke his neck. Oh my goodness. And Kelsey is a 5-year-old golden retriever. She kept kept him warm by lying on top of him and kept him awake by licking his face and hands. Oh my goodness. Think about that. He didn't have I should have read that earlier, but anyway, he didn't have a cold weather gear or anything like that, because I didn't know at first how he broke his neck or anything, but slipped and fell. Maybe went out to get the paper or something in the morning. That can happen. Because I remember when I was in Denver, Colorado one time during the wintertime, it was, of course, icy and snowy up there, and that's just par for the course for January. And what little bit of snow melted in the day, froze at night, and it's pure ice. And you folks up in the colder climates, you know all about that. But when you fall, I don't care if you were born and raised there or not, there is no way to fall graceful. I mean, you're going to clam, bam, wham, hit that ground. And I mean, it can. Whew,
your feet are under you, then they're over your head, and you're on your back.
Yeah. And I saw a couple that was there, and, they were walking, had a hold of each other, trying to walk, and she slipped and went down, and he went down with her. And then it wasn't funny, but it was trying to watch both of them trying to get back up, and neither one of them could. They kept slipping and falling because they were it wasn't a flat place. It was a little bit of a slope there, and they couldn't get out of there,
Yeah.
And so anyway, they eventually did, but it was kind of, we shouldn't laugh at people like that, but it was funny. I can't help it.
It's funny, and it hurts, and it's dangerous. And in this particular case, it broke his neck. I had a fall. In Florida, we don't get much snow and ice, but we had 3 inches of snow one year where I'm at. And I had pipes freezing in the house, and I went down to the end of the street and borrowed an extra torch from little blowtorch from a neighbor. I had one, and I got his so I could get under my house and get the pipes
unthawed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And coming back, and I was wearing cowboy boots at the time, and coming back, I crossed the road. Well, the road was ice, and I was feet up and arse down and right onto it. And it happens in a split second. I didn't break my back. I didn't, I was very fortunate on my neck, but you land all your weight in a split second. There's nothing to break it. And I can relate. I can relate. And the dog, that's not something that you put a dog through training. That dog is doing everything by instinct and knows you're in trouble, and they don't have to understand everything. They understand enough. When your dog was sniffing you from your neck to your toes, your dog found the area that was healing. It wasn't necessarily, it was the area that was damaged, that was healing, that didn't smell like it was supposed to smell. And likewise, you have dogs, Jim, and I know this is something that you can relate to. But if you have heart issues and your heart starts doing things flippity floppity that it shouldn't, the dog will pick it up. 2 a.m, they'll pick that up.
Oh yeah.
And if that means you need to have some nitro or whatever it is at that moment, the dog has just intervened in a way that now you're able to take it. They may not be able to pour you the water and get you the pill.
No.
They will lick you and bark and tug at you until you get up.
Alert you, yeah. I didn't have a dog when I don't have one yet. I haven't been able to replace. I'm not ready for another dog after losing Rudy because it just tore me up so much.
Yeah, we haven't found a new pack number for Abby either.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I just want to share.
You don't replace them, folks.
Yeah, that's right. And you will see them again. I know they talk about Rainbow Bridge and all that, and that's nice, but make no mistake about it. consistently, if you believe in the Bible consistently all the way through, you take like with the flood, for goodness sakes. Not only did God make the sign of the rainbow, it talks about there in Genesis chapter 9, I believe, something like that. And God
He
says
made sure to save the animals.
He made a covenant with the animals.
Yep.
Specifically. Now, you think if He's not going to wash the humans away, the land animals will be all right. But He made a covenant with them.
That ark could have been built a lot faster if He hadn't cared about the animals.
Oh yeah, and like in there's in Book of Romans, and I think I'm correct on this, chapter 8, it talks about in that day the whole, meaning all of creation, groans with birth pains, and in that day they will be delivered to the children of God. Now, this is not a sermon or anything. I'm just saying that there's just proof over and over and over throughout, including Isaiah and all kind of books there, because I did a research on that. And what does the Bible say about animals? And I tell you right now, it comes to your pets, don't worry about them. Me and you, we need to worry about us. That's where the worry's got to be, folks. I mean, I'm just being upfront with you about that. But
one of my dad's favorite songs was an old song called "Old Shep."
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And there's a line in there: "If there's a doggy heaven, no doubt that old Shep is right there."
Oh yeah, wasn't it Sheb Woolley that sang that? I believe. I believe it was Sheb Woolley. I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but anyway,
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
My dad used to sing it. That's how.
Oh,
that's why.
Oh yeah.
And he
every
time, every time he'd say it, I'd start tearing up.
Oh yeah, because it's. I was listening to.
And it also there's a rescue in it, where in the beginning of it, where he falls, the boy falls through the ice, and old Shep was right there to the rescue. He came, he jumped in and helped drag me out. Exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and the way I look at it too, if we're made in the Creator's image, and we love dogs, well, doesn't it seem reasonable He loved dogs too, and especially since He created them. All we did was go down to the pet store or neighbor's house or someone that raises dogs and neither had one give to us or bought it, one of the two. But the Creator, He loves all of His creation, and you better believe, just like we love our dogs, He loves His lizards, He loves His bugs, He loves everything. Says even knows the cattle on 1,000, every head of cattle on 1,000 hills. It mentions that. And I'm going like, wow, that's really. So why would that be in there for us?
There's no part of it that doesn't have a purpose.
Yes.
And that if you want, the blueprint for the world is, and people get all up in arms, fighting over this little fish or this frog or whatever, and the silliness of it or whatever, but they all serve a purpose.
Yes.
Everything is in this cosmos there's a purpose, and it all interrelates to everything else. And it's not just a puzzle. It's not just nobody's an island. It's there's no single part of it that is not interdependent. But whether you're talking about us with other people, other countries, other planets, it's all interrelated. And how many? What's the old thing about the butterflies and I can't think of what it. But the idea that enough butterflies flapping their wings at the same time can change the weather. Yeah.
And scientists has proven that. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it does. And they're doing it. They're cooling off. They're doing something. They're releasing heat. There's a lot of different little aspects to it. Can you take it and say, yes, this happened, so this happened, so this happened, so this happened? No. But when you take all of these things together, they're all interrelated. And to the extent that the story, and again, when we're talking about Noah and the ark, are we talking about a physical ark? Are we talking about getting to out of every single ark? All of these are irrelevant. The point is, the picture that's being painted here is that all of these things are important.
Yes, they are. And
And dogs get us.
Yeah.
They've been around us as long as we've been around them,
Mm-hmm.
but they get us better than we get them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
who's smarter here? I don't know.
Well, it's kind of like the story back there in Genesis about Eve. I mean, prior to the fall into sin, for those that believe in the Bible, and if you don't, that's fine. But I'm just going to use this as an illustration of a story. Prior to the fall into sin, according to the record there, Eve was reasoning in her mind how delicious that fruit would be and probably how it would taste and make her so wise and all that. And we know how that worked out for Adam and Eve because it said you'd surely die. Well, the human race definitely dies. There's no question about that as far as the physical body. So my point being, when we get the reasoning in our minds, what does that tell us? It's kind of like that old joke. You want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans.
Well, and of course, in this great example of taking personal responsibility,
yes.
What does the story tell us about Adam? Adam said, I didn't do it. She did it. The woman you gave me did it.
Yeah. It's her fault.
It's her fault.
It's your fault. You gave me her. And then Eve says, "Don't blame me. Blame the serpent." I mean, it's kind of wild because we easily forget that during that time, she was carrying on a conversation with a serpent or a snake. And oh my gosh, if you walked outside your door and some snake raised its head out of the grass and says, "Good morning, how you doing?" I mean, if you didn't drop dead of a heart attack, you tear that door off the hinges trying to get back inside. I mean, I know I would.
Fear, though. They didn't have any fear.
No,
fear came in. Fear came in at that point, but they didn't have any.
Yeah.
And shame. Fear and shame is the first thing that came in.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Well, we're going to get over to preaching real good here. So we better get back over to dogs.
Yeah, we better get back.
But it wasn't a dog that did it. Okay.
No, it wasn't a dog. They had more sense than that.
The dog was back there barking, saying, "No,
not the tree, Eve. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
Please."
Yeah, the dog was over there trying to warn him.
I don't even know how we got over there, folks.
I don't either.
But we had fun. But it's important that just remember that when you lose a beloved pet, that pet you will see again in the future. And
I believe that.
Be thankful for that, because can you imagine what it's going to be like up there? I mean, anyway,
noisy. It's going to be noisy.
Yeah, it sure will. And these folks here in this boardpanda.com, hero-dogs is where I'm reading this from. Number 6 is our blind dog Molly saved the lives of 7 people, 2 dogs, and 4 cats from a fire. And the story behind this, they got some pictures here of the dog, the house on fire. My goodness, the family. Wow. Our house caught fire at 2 a.m. in November. Is that your dog calling you? That's okay, Emerson. I understand. It says our house caught fire at 2 a.m. in November 2016. Our dog, Molly, woke us up. She saved the lives of 7 people, 2 other dogs, and 4 cats. She was blind and was given 2 months to live, 4 months before the fire. 2 years later, she is still alive and kicking. We take her to the vet weekly to get fluid drained from her lungs. And she is still happy and wagging. What a beautiful story that is. What a beautiful, and that dog knows the love and the care that their human pack members are showing to her, because they know that by taking the fluid off the lungs, it's in helping her to live a more comfortable life. And that'll never be, because when you show acts of love, it's not just for the moment. It dominoes on and on and on forever, because love energy cannot be put in a jar. It cannot be stopped. True love and the energy that comes from that in the heart, it goes on forever and ever. There's nothing to stop it.
and it's unconditional.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's the word that regularly comes to my mind about dogs is it's unconditional.
Yeah.
This is nothing. This isn't exalting. Well, it is exalting dogs over, other animals that are in our lives, but it's not about dogs are better than cats or better than squirrels or whatever. But it's of all the animals, and I said this before, of all the animals that we have surrounded ourselves with for hundreds of thousands of years.
Oh yeah.
Okay, how many, along a lot of years, okay? For all of the animals, only dogs, there's a special bond there. There's a special bond there. You know, it doesn't happen with other animals. We can domesticate them, but you're not, and you may have a pet pig. I know people who have pet pigs. Pigs are very, very smart animals.
Yes, they are.
They're very smart.
And there's an awful lot pig is cute.
Awful lot about pigs that physiologically make them very close to us genetically in such a way. Not joking here. In such a way that the very first heart transplants, Jim, right?
Right.
Big. And so many of their organs are able to mingle with ours. But that doesn't mean that the pig gets us.
No.
Not like a dog gets us. Cats have managers, you know.
Yeah.
And cats,
they have staff.
They have staff. And the thing is, and I'm not disparaging cats. I have a lot of friends who have cats, and you know, I don't. All I'm saying is, there have been studies on this. There is ongoing studies on this, and dogs get us. They get us better than we get ourselves in many cases. And when we begin to recognize that bond, they're not just a pet.
No.
You know, they're not just a cute little puppy or cute little pet or a messy little puppy or a messy little pet. You know, they are getting us, and they are learning from us, and they are watching us, and they're feeling us, and they're sensing us, and they're smelling us, and they're knowing us better than we know ourselves.
You know, the thing that it popped in my mind as you were talking about that, Emerson, is that it's just so evident to me that dogs are true to themselves more so than we are, because they demonstrate their love, their loyalty every single day. And there's a lot we could learn from that. You, me, and everybody else listening to this broadcast. What if we demonstrated every moment of every day what our love and loyalty is and who it's to? My goodness gracious, how many married people would love for their beloved spouse to have that same love and loyalty and dedication to them? Oh my gosh. That would solve a lot of arguments, because a lot of married folks, they argue over money. And it's really sad, because if they come together and have a meeting of the minds and pool all of their love and their resources together with the love, loyalty, and commitment that we're going to work through these hard times together, because we got something that money can't buy, which is each other. We got love, and we're loyal to one another. We could take. Yeah, that's how many, we could all take lessons from dogs. Hey, Emerson, let's start a dog school for adults.
That's right.
That's not a bad idea, folks.
Find your inner dog.
Yeah, find your inner. That's classic. Because there's a lot of truth in that.
What's the old joke about the insomniac who was a agnostic and he was an insomniac and was an agnostic, and he'd lay awake all night, not able to go to sleep, wondering if the dog was real. And he was anorexic. Help me here, Jim.
I'm trying to go ahead.
People see words backwards and all.
Oh, dyslexic.
Dyslexic, yeah.
Yeah.
Insomniac and dyslexic and an agnostic. You'd lay awake at night wondering if the dog was real.
Mm.
That's a bad joke. Okay,
Yeah.
onward. And I didn't even tell it. I didn't even tell it good.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. You know, those things happen. Here's a little dog by the name of Abby, and Abby's a cute little terrier type, and it saved little Benjamin by letting his mom know he was choking. And here they show the dog and the baby, and this little baby looks like maybe he's 6 or 8 months old, and there's a sign that the people made to have a picture of the baby and the dog. Again, this is at BoredPanda, BoredPanda.com. I saved my brother's life by letting mom know he was choking in his sleep. Wow. I love the way that's read there, because if we look, like, the little boy, the baby there, the dog is his brother. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, because, it's not the title, it's the amount of love and respect and harmony that every pack needs. Every pack needs. Goodness. Whether you're an animal lover or not, you need harmony and love in your pack.
You do. And something, and there'll be people who might be offended by this. I certainly have some in my family who are, but there's an awful lot of things we can learn from the proper training of dogs that applies with children.
Yes.
Consistency. Not letting yourself get emotional and angry, because dogs really don't get that. It's just it's aggressive behavior, and it's threatening, but consistency, calmness. There's so many things when we simplicity with our children. The number of times I've heard somebody kneeling down in a grocery store explaining in great detail to their 2.5 or 3-year-old something about how they were running. You don't want to run through and this and the people this, and they're going on and on and on. They don't understand any of that. Dogs, very simple, very consistent, doing it the same way all the time. The things we can learn from that.
Yeah. Think about whenever you come in, you're upset or you're worried about something or something. Dogs come to your rescue right then and there, and they want to let you know that you're loved.
Oh, yeah.
They really do. They pick up on that. And it's just a wonderful thing that we have in the life of dogs. And here they show a dog. Oh, my goodness gracious. Her name is Frida. This good girl saved 52 people from Mexico's earthquake.
Holy Toledo. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I wish they would give more details of that. But, it's just amazing how that dog could sniff out those people in a condition like that. Because you imagine being trapped in a building or being buried by an earthquake, falling debris and stuff. I mean, whew. I've only been, when I lived in California, I felt an earthquake one time. And I know a lot of you folks out there in California, it's no big deal, might break a dish or something. But I'm kind of funny. I just don't like the feel of the earth shaking under my feet. That does not give me a comfortable feeling at all. I mean, it just, I'm just wired that way. I guess I'm wired kind of strange, but it's really amazing how, Frida, that little dog, and it's just a plain looking, looks like a little lab, saved 52 people from Mexico's earthquake. And, Emerson, you mentioned that earlier about how dogs can, they sense where people need help.
Well, they do. And they sense things that we're totally unaware of. You mentioned earthquakes.
Oh, yeah.
When they had the tsunami, this has long been a part of lore. But when the big tsunami hit a few years back, dogs they knew it hours ahead.
Mhm.
And other animals did too. Okay. Animals started going up and moving towards the higher ground
Mm.
way before
Mm.
anybody on the beach, you know, even had a chance to change
Oh,
their
yeah.
sunblock or anything, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a sixth sense there, if you
Mhm.
want to call it that.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
tuned into things we're not.
Mhm.
You know, I'm going to share something that we shared on some other show.
Okay.
One of the things that, and I know we're kind of closing down here to the end.
Yeah.
One of the things that everything that we see in the visible light spectrum is a tiny, tiny, tiny little section
Mhm.
of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. If you ran a
Yeah.
line from LA to New York, the electromagnetic spectrum would cover that. We're talking ultraviolet, we're talking radio waves, we're talking everything that's in
Yeah.
that spectrum. Just a
Exactly.
few inches of it would be the visible spectrum
Mhm. That we see.
that we see. Just a few inches
Mhm.
of that 3,000 miles.
Mhm.
So dogs are in tune with, and there are other animals too. Birds use the electromagnetic spectrum, true north, and being
Oh,
able to
yeah.
navigate and things that
Oh, yeah.
we still don't understand all the ways
Mhm.
they can do it. You know, animals, whales, crabs. I mean, amazing, all
Mhm.
different levels are tuned into aspects of our natural universe that we're
Oh,
not.
yeah. I'll tell
And
you something about
dogs are tuned in a huge way to all of
Mhm.
that, but they're tuned into us, which
Mhm.
makes them especially
Oh,
a
yeah.
valuable and very important part
Sure.
of enriching our life and making our lives
Oh, yeah.
better.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you something about birds, ladies and gentlemen. When I served in Vietnam, if you're going out somewhere and you're out in the boonies, the birds have a unique way. That special, whatever you want to call it, sonar or whatever they got. But if you're walking out in the boonies and you see birds flying, they're singing or chirping, doing normal bird day, you're going to be okay. But if they're quiet and there's no birds, watch out. It's kind of like right before a storm, you don't see birds flying around chirping. They head for the robins in the bush, as the old saying goes. And I want to finish up here real quickly a little bit about Frida. I got to tell you a little bit more about Frida, the rescue dog who saved 52 people in earthquakes. She was a Labrador retriever. She was a part of the Mexican Navy, SEMAR, SEMAR, and she was out helping them find. Frida's helped save the lives of people buried under rubble. Buildings collapsed in the 2010 Haiti earthquake, victims of the landslide in Guatemala in 2012 after the explosion of the Torre Ejectiva Primex, the Primex Tower in Mexico City in 2013, and the 2016 earthquake, the Ecuador earthquake in 2017, Puebla earthquake in Mexico. And it suggests that she has actually saved more than 52 people. My goodness gracious. I mean, how would you feel? How would you feel about a dog? What would you say to a dog that pulled you out of the rubble? Thank you. I'd want to hug that dog. I really would. I mean, that's a special, special animal. And ladies and gentlemen, we're almost out of time. Emerson, this has been fun. We've really, we enjoy doing these shows, especially talking about fun things like dogs. And please feel free to give us an email there, and we'll
Send
be
us their
glad to.
story.
Yeah, exactly. Please do. We'd love to hear it. And if we don't, get it, if we get it 6 months from now, we'll talk about recently or 6 months ago, whatever, we did a show on dogs, did a week on dogs, and got a comment from an individual who saw the show and they want to tell us about their dog. We'd be glad to mention it. And we'll just mention your first name, middle initial, whatever. We're not going to disclose everything about you but anyway, we would love to hear your story. And in closing, ladies and gentlemen, again, I hope like Emerson says, I hope, my next dog and all the dogs I've had in the past, I hope I become the person they think that I am. I hope I become loved enough to where their love for me was worthy, and I'm worthy of it, I should say. And also for you. Be sure and love yourself first, then love others, and most importantly, forgive yourself. We'll be back tomorrow with another great story as we wind up this dog week. We're having fun. We hope you have a blessed day or night whenever you see the show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you now. Bye-bye.